On a cold winter night in late December of 1980, 3 ordinary people were driving along a quiet road in East Texas. They were returning home from dinner. They were not looking for mystery. They were not searching for the unknown. And yet, what they claimed to encounter that night would become one of the most controversial UFO cases in American history. It would be known as the Cash-Landrum incident. The road was Farm to Market Road 1485, a dark wooded stretch near Dayton, Texas, the kind of road where headlights cut narrow tunnels through the trees. Inside the car were Betty Cash, Vickie Landrum, and Vickie's 7-year-old grandson, Colby. Betty Cash was a businesswoman, confident, outspoken, not someone easily dismissed as fanciful. Vickie Landrum was deeply religious, a grandmother devoted to her family and her faith. Colby was just a child, curious, impressionable. They had spent the evening eating dinner, talking, laughing, nothing unusual, until ahead of them on the road they saw a light. At first it looked like an aircraft, bright, strange, hovering, but as they drove closer, the light did not move like a plane. It did not pass overhead. It did not fade into the distance. Instead, it seemed to hang in the sky, low, close, and growing brighter. Betty slowed the car. The object appeared diamond-shaped, brilliant, almost metallic in the glare of its own glow. Flames shot downward from its base, not like a smooth jet exhaust, but like bursts, like something struggling to stay aloft. The air inside the car grew hot, unnaturally hot. Betty later said it felt as though the vehicle itself was baking. She stopped the car in the road. The heat intensified. Vickie Landrum began to panic. She believed they were witnessing something supernatural, something biblical. She reportedly cried out that it was a sign from God. Betty stepped out of the car. She wanted a better look. The heat outside was overwhelming. She said it felt as though her skin was burning. She could feel it on her face, on her arms. She claimed the metal of the car door was too hot to touch for long. Above them, the object continued to blaze. Then, through the glare, they saw more lights. Helicopters, many of them dark silhouettes against the fiery glow. They counted over 20 large military-style helicopters flying in formation around the object, as if escorting it, as if controlling it, or perhaps pursuing it. The helicopters did not attack. They did not fire. They simply surrounded the craft. The sight was surreal, a glowing diamond in the sky, encircled by military aircraft, over a rural Texas road. After several minutes, the object began to move. It drifted away, still flaming, still bright. The helicopters followed, and then gradually the sky returned to darkness. The road was quiet again. But something was wrong. Almost immediately, the 3 began to feel ill. Betty Cash developed a severe headache, nausea, a burning sensation across her skin. Vickie Landrum and young Colby also felt sick. Their eyes hurt. Their skin reddened. By the next morning, their symptoms had worsened. Betty's scalp began to blister. Her hair started falling out in clumps. She developed painful sores. Doctors who examined her described her injuries as resembling radiation burns. Her skin peeled. Her body weakened. She was hospitalized multiple times. Vickie and Colby experienced less severe symptoms, but they too reported blisters, vomiting, and extreme fatigue. Colby's hair reportedly fell out in patches. The 3 believed they had been exposed to intense radiation. They believed the object was not extraterrestrial, a secret military experiment gone wrong. They began searching for answers. Betty Cash was determined. She contacted authorities. She reached out to the media. Eventually, the case drew national attention. Investigators looked into the helicopter claim. Military officials denied involvement. They stated no such operation had occurred that night. No flights matching that description were logged. No exercises were reported in the area. Skeptics questioned the account. Could so many helicopters operate without documentation? Could such a large-scale military presence go unnoticed by others? Some local residents did report seeing helicopters in the area around that time, but details were inconsistent. No physical evidence of the object was ever recovered. No radiation readings were officially confirmed. The case moved into the courts. Betty Cash and Vickie Landrum filed a lawsuit against the United States government. They alleged that a military craft had exposed them to radiation. They sought compensation for medical bills and suffering. The case was heard in federal court, but without concrete proof of government involvement, their claims struggled. The court ultimately dismissed the case, citing lack of evidence. The government maintained it had no knowledge of such an event. For believers, the dismissal was not proof of innocence. It was proof of secrecy. They argued that classified projects would not appear in public records. That experimental aircraft could explain the diamond-shaped craft, that the helicopters were evidence of containment. For skeptics, the story had other explanations, perhaps misidentified aircraft, perhaps a distant flare or oil refinery burn mistaken for something closer, perhaps a psychological amplification of an unusual but mundane sight. Some suggested that the symptoms were stress-related, others pointed out inconsistencies in the timeline. Yet the medical records remained puzzling. Doctors documented Betty Cash's severe condition, her hair loss, her burns, her prolonged illness. Radiation exposure was suspected, though never definitively proven. And that is where the mystery lingers. 3 witnesses, 1 extraordinary claim, serious physical symptoms, no official acknowledgement, no recovered craft, no definitive explanation. Over the decades, the Cash-Landrum incident has been cited in countless books, documentaries, podcasts. It is often described as one of the most credible UFO encounters in American history, not because of alien bodies, not because of crashed debris, but because of the injuries, because of the helicopters, because of the sheer number of details that seem too specific to invent. And yet the absence of proof remains. No radar data publicly confirms the object. No military records verify the escort. No independent radiation measurements were preserved from that night. Betty Cash continued to suffer health problems for years. She maintained her story until her death. Vickie Landrum also stood by her account. Colby, who was just a boy at the time, grew up with a memory of that blazing object in the sky. Were they mistaken? Were they exposed to something secret? Or did they witness something that does not fit neatly into any known category? The road where it happened still exists. Quiet. Ordinary. Just another stretch of Texas pavement beneath open sky. Drivers pass through at night, headlights cutting through the trees, never expecting the sky above them to erupt in flame. But on that December night in 1980, for a few terrifying minutes, the darkness was torn open, and whatever hovered above Farm to Market Road 1485 left behind questions that have never been fully answered. Questions about secrecy, about technology, about belief, and about how fragile our sense of certainty can be when confronted with something we do not understand. You've been listening to an audio podcast about the Cash-Landrum incident, a chilling encounter on a dark Texas road that left behind injuries, controversy, and unanswered questions that still echo decades later. If you found this episode interesting, thought-provoking, or informative, please take a moment to like this episode, subscribe to the podcast, and share it with others who enjoy true mysterious stories from our history. Your support helps us continue exploring real cases, real history, and the stories that shaped the past. Thank you for listening. This has been History's Mysterious Minds.